Good afternoon. My name is Judge Elena Goldberg Velasquez, and I am interviewing Judge Nilda Morales-Horowitz on behalf of the Latino Judges Association History Project. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you so much, Elena. It's so nice to see you.
Likewise. Please provide your general background information. For example, where you're from, where did you grow up, schools attended?
Well, I was born in New York. I grew up for the first 10 years of my life in the Bronx. And I went to school in the Bronx, and I was part of a community of a lot of Latinos and Hispanics. My parents were back then even more very prominent figures in the Hispanic community. So I was very active with them and in all Bronx politics, city politics. So that was kind of my background as far as how that started. And then I went to Manhattan College in the Bronx. I was one of a handful of Latinos, Hispanic there. And that's also when the school just went by co-ed. So not only was I one of the few Hispanics, but I was one of the handful of women that attended Manhattan College. So after that, I went to law school. I went to Hofstra in Long Island. Again, one of only two Hispanics in my class. And I graduated from Hofstra. Actually, at the time, I'm not sure if they still do it. There was an accelerated program that you could do law school in 2 years if you went straight through with no breaks. So for whatever reason, I was in a hurry. I'm not sure why, but I graduated in 2 years. And after that, I started my own practice in the Bronx.
And Judge, how did you start your path to the bench in Westchester County?
Well, it kind of started out in the city because when I was in private practice in the Bronx, again, through being politically active with my parents, then Governor Mario Cuomo appointed me to the bench at the Workers' Compensation Board. So I became not only the youngest, but the first Hispanic ever to be appointed to the Workers' Compensation Board, where I sat for about 4 years.
And why did you want to become a judge? Is there someone in particular who encouraged you? And was it your lifelong dream or goal?
Getting on the bench at the Workers' Comp Board kind of gave me an idea of what it was to be a judge and how that career and how that could end up being something that I would want to do long term. So I needed to leave because then we got a change in government. So I had to leave the Workers' Comp Board. And at that point, I decided that I liked being a judge and I wanted to pursue another avenue to remain being a judge. And as that kind of evolved, I became a hearing examiner for the Family Court Bureau in Manhattan. And I stayed there for a couple of years. And I ran for the first time in Westchester in 1998. At that time, the county was still pretty much Republican. So my first run in 1998, I barely, I almost made it, but I lost to an incumbent, a Republican incumbent. But as a result of that, the county executive, Andy Spano, appointed me, but I became a deputy county attorney. And I was asked to take charge of the Westchester Family Court Bureau. And that kind of set me up in the best way possible to later run in 2 years for the Family Court bench.
And what was the Latino landscape in Westchester at the time when you initially ran?
Probably almost close to non-existent. Mm-hmm. You know, there were plenty of Latinos, that's for sure. There was a big Hispanic community, but we were very poorly represented. And to the point that when I was elected in 2000, I was the first Hispanic elected in the 9th Judicial District, which is composed of, as we know, Rockland, Orange, Dutchess, Putnam, and Westchester. And I was the very first one to be able to get an election and win an election. And that came through a huge myriad of problems and difficulties, and as a result of ballot fraud. And that was a huge matter that everybody that remembers at the time knows it was a huge scandal.
What political, civic, legal, and/or community organizations were you involved with, and did any of them play a role with your election to the bench?
Well, back in 2000, when I ran, it was the very, very beginning of the Hispanic Democrats of Westchester. In fact, I was one of the founding members with Robin McCall. And she and I actually were the ones who discovered the ballot fraud that was taking place in the election of 2000. We noticed that a lot of Hispanics all of a sudden had asked for absentee ballots and were voting Republican, conservative, and that seemed very unusual. So as a result of us trying to figure out how and why that had happened, we discovered a huge, huge conspiracy, which almost worked, in which there had been a concerted effort to try to disenfranchise the Hispanic community, primarily in Yonkers, by falsifying all the absentee ballots. So myself, Robin, and a handful of Hispanic Democrats back then, like I said, we were just starting out. We were able to bring this to light, and this all resulted in criminal convictions and civil lawsuits. It was pretty intense. This is my third term. I just was elected to my third term. I am actually now the longest sitting family court judge in Westchester County, I think in the 9th Judicial, actually. So I'm on the bench now 21 years as a family court judge.
Were you the first Latino judge elected in the 9th JD?
Yes,
I believe you were in Westchester and the entire 9th JD.
The 9th JD.
Wonderful. And who or what was instrumental in assisting in your election as the first Latino elected in the 9th JD?
Well, primarily, like I said, there were not many of us around in positions to really help, or in positions to really influence at the time. I relied heavily on my family, on friends, the Hispanic Dems that had just been formed. They were very, very instrumental in just, being soldiers, being out there, getting the word out, getting the vote out. So I have to say, between, a handful of friends, family, and Hispanic Dems, I would say they were mainly responsible for this first, and all my elections, all of my elections.
And what challenges or obstacles did you confront on your journey to the bench?
I think what I confronted is not unlike most of us. It's a lot harder to become part of a system where there aren't too many people like you. Mm-hmm. And as the first Hispanic, I think I opened the door. I opened the door and allowed more people to be taken seriously, because I was not taken seriously at first, because I wasn't part of the group. I wasn't part of the regular people that went after positions like this. I was different.
And what advice do you have for young Latinos who aspire to be on the bench?
Go for it. Go for it, because you can do it. And it's not going to be handed to you. Nothing good ever is. Nothing worthwhile ever is handed to you. It's only worthwhile when you have to work for it, and you realize the benefits and all of what comes with putting out some effort and pursuing something that you're really passionate about. I just want to be remembered by being someone who cared, someone who took the time to listen, who took the time to take every matter before me as if it's the most important thing, because the person that is with me feels that it is the most important thing in their life. And I want to be remembered for someone who gave as much as I could, and opened the door for other people like myself to be able to accomplish this, because this is truly a privilege. It's an honor to have a position as a family court judge. And it's something which really is special. And I am happy every day that I go to work. I'm truly blessed. And I think that I would love for other people to feel like that as well.